Hey friends, and welcome back to Sewing from Scratch. Today I'm showing you how I turned this into this. Yep, jean transformation. This is really the first time I've done like a full tailoring, I guess, of jeans or altering of them. So I learned a little along the way and I want to share that with you. So let's hop into the video. Alright, so this is basically a whole lot of me rambling. To save you the time and annoyance, I'm just gonna summarize. I was gifted a huge amount of vintage denim from a local family. There was exactly one pair that fit me half decent and was worth altering. These faded Levis 531s. And that's about where the positives end. The back waistband is quite gappy. I thought I'd use a dart to fix that, kind of like a sway back adjustment, but I actually end up doing a two-piece contoured / angled waistband. There's some other issues going on, like this front bunching and the super long legs, but those will be secondary. So I'm going to try them on inside out now and pinch out the back to see how much I need to take in. And now it's time to seam rip. I had removed one belt loop and the leather tag. I plan to add these back on once the adjustments are made. I'm using a combination of my regular seam ripper and my hook blade type. I actually have a video on different seam rippers and how to use them, so I'll link that below for anybody interested. Also, a lot of jeans are chain stitched, so once you start pulling on a loose thread, it should all just unravel. This is great for ripping, but can be bad if you accidentally pull it too far. I then detached a portion of the waistband from the back yoke in order to alter it. I lined up the waistband with the center of the yoke and marked that line. I recommend doing this before seam ripping, preferably by folding the pants exactly in half. Now I'm using my grid ruler to make symmetrical markings on either side of the center line to ensure I'm taking in the proper amount on each side. This measurement is coming from when I pinned the excess out in the back. Then I'll stitch kind of an hourglass shape to form the contour. This can be kind of hard to understand, but it helps if you fold the waistband back together to see that the top of it needs to be taken in more than the part that attaches to the yoke. Then we'll do some gradual shaping once we have the rough fit ready. Because there was excess down through the yoke as well, I'm going to take it in slightly to better fit the waistband. This means seam ripping and altering. I do the same thing for the center back seam. So this whole process took a few attempts, lots of back and forth between the machines and the seam ripper. It can also be pretty tricky to get everything to line up when you're trying to piece it in. Taking the entire waistband and yoke off is a lot of work, so I opted to do it this way. My biggest tip is to be patient and try not to stab yourself with pins. I also want to say, do not be intimidated. This project was really not bad and stimulated my creativity just the way I like. It also pushed me out of my comfort zone and allowed me to check another thing off my sewing bucket list. Anything is manageable if you break it down into tiny steps. The flat felt seams made things a bit more interesting to get lined up, but were actually easier to sew since I was just top stitching. I took the jeans into one of my local fabric shops to color match the top stitch thread. This is an absolute must in my opinion. Eventually I was left with this. I had taken too much out of the yoke and didn't grade enough into the back of the pants, so I had this little bump. What I ended up doing was just overlapping the two back leg pieces to smooth that out. Definitely not conventional, and I can't say I would necessarily recommend this, but I do like the added interest of the asymmetrical overlap. And it did work for the most part. I'm also going to top stitch that yoke seam down. After altering the back, the front wasn't nearly as bunchy, so I chose to leave it for now. All that was left was to hem them. I ended up cutting off 5 inches, then running a stitch 1 inch from the edge and fraying the hem. This took forever. They look okay, but I might shorten them even more. We'll see. Alright, so here's how they turned out. All in all, I'm happy with the results. There were a lot of learning curves and mostly just winging it. My machine didn't love the bulk of the denim, so I think next time I do this, I would use my mechanical machine or an industrial and continue to work slowly and carefully. watching. I hope it was enjoyable for you and you learned maybe a thing or two. And if you did enjoy this content, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!
It's like a family tree.